Hey guys, Kevin again, and I wasn't planning on reviewing this to you guys, but I figured I would. If you guys don't know, Neil Patrick Harris's new variety talk show, kind of like a talk show, but more like a variety show, came out called Best Time Ever with Neil Patrick Harris, and it hasn't really been getting the best reviews, and I was very interested in seeing how this was. First of all, because I think Neil Patrick Harris has been great in terms of awards. You know, the Oscars, no, he wasn't the best, but I don't think he was horrible. I think he just kind of got cold feet, and he wasn't really used to it. It was a different kind of environment than the Tonys were, and it didn't really work as well for him. But this, I was interested in seeing really what it was going to be. I mean, no one really knew what this was going to be because they tried to keep this really as under wraps as possible. And obviously, this was live, so nobody could really say how this was going to turn out. And, unfortunately, this really has not been getting very good reviews, as I said, and I was very surprised. I mean, it's Neil Patrick Harris. It seemed like it'd be getting very good reviews. I have to say that I really think this show has a lot of potential, but I really feel that we did not get the best from this show in this first episode. I mean, this was a good first episode, okay? It wasn't horrible. I thought that this gave us at least a good idea of what this show is going to be. You know, it gave us an idea of what to expect and how this is, how this show is going to be overall and what we're going to get in this show. That I thought they did a good job with, but there were a lot of things that I thought just didn't really work. Let's first talk about Neil Patrick Harris as a host. I thought for the most part, he was kind of run down. I was expecting a lot more from him, and we didn't really get what I wanted to see from Neil Patrick Harris. I wanted to see, he was really energetic. You could tell he was into it, but I felt like he just wasn't as into it. Like, he seemed like he was into it, but because he had all this stuff planned out, he didn't really get to do, like, I thought he'd have really funny opening monologue, and he really didn't have anything that funny. I didn't think he really had anything that funny to say. All of his funny jokes that he usually has, like at the awards, he didn't do. And I was thinking he would do an opening number, and he didn't do that. And I wish he did, because, that's what Neil Patrick Harris is known for. These big, Broadway-style numbers, and we didn't really get that in this episode. That kind of threw me off. I'm like, wow, he didn't start. I did think it was really cool with the best suit ever thing, where he just walked through it, and then his suit came on. That was really cool. I definitely really like that. But it felt very strange. Something I definitely was not a fan of was the banter between Reese Witherspoon and Neil Patrick Harris. I don't really like the way this is going. I don't like it. I don't understand why she really was there. To me, it just felt like they had a pointless celebrity cameo just to get people to watch and just for ratings. And that really didn't work for me. The guest announcer thing, they need to get an actual announcer. Just get a regular announcer, and I'll be fine with that. A different guest announcer every week, I'm really not looking forward to, because it seemed like Reese Witherspoon was really trying to do something, but she kind of just came across as looking like an idiot. And I know it was scripted, but she really fell out of place. I mean, Neil Patrick Harris, he was kind of being a dick to her, honestly. And again, I know this was planned, but it seemed like he didn't even let her really talk that much. It didn't really seem like they had a lot to do, really. I mean, every few seconds she'd kind of make a naive comment, and it wasn't funny. It was just kind of weird. I was like, this is supposed to be Reese Witherspoon. Why are you acting so weird? It just felt very strange to me, and to me personally, I really feel this should be a lot more unscripted, because that I feel could be a lot funnier. Have Neil Patrick Harris interact with a guest announcer and make it unscripted, that I really would have wanted to see, because maybe he could have, made them feel uncomfortable, because it seems like his main goal in the show is just to fuck with people, and we're gonna get into that when we get to, I'm gonna talk about every single sketch that we saw in this first episode. But right off the bat, I'm really not a fan of the scripted stuff between Neil Patrick Harris and Reese Witherspoon. I didn't really find it funny. It just kind of came across as Neil Patrick Harris being a dick, which I know he wasn't, and I know it was scripted, but it just didn't really work. I didn't really find it funny. I think it could have been a lot funnier than it was, but I didn't really like it. So then we get into the first skit, which is called I Know Things. Basically, he goes up to random audience members and basically makes them feel uncomfortable. This is a pretty brilliant skit, I will say that. The problem was, I didn't really find this that funny. I really didn't. I think it just got very repetitive, and the whole skit was just him interviewing these two random audience members who he definitely knew. You could tell that he knew these people. He knew who they were. He knew, where they were from, things like that. They're probably friends of his, but he made it seem like they're complete strangers and that he stalked them at all these different things, which is a cool idea, but it just became very repetitive. I mean, first he does, he was in their hotel. Okay, fine. Then he did that he was at their game. Okay. Then he goes to their wedding, and I'm just like, this isn't funny anymore. After the first time, it really was just not as funny. I think the first time at the hotel, that was really clever. I definitely really like that. And also the one he did at the baseball game, I believe, that was really clever as well. Him dressing up like the mascot. I definitely really like seeing that. But it just became a very repetitive skit, and there really, I don't think, was much to it. Sorry guys, I'm just switching locations here. There really, I don't think, was much to this skit. I wish I could say there was more to it, but there really wasn't. It was just Neil Patrick Harris being like, oh, I've stalked you here. Oh, I've seen you there. There just wasn't much there, and I wish we could have seen a bit more of what was going on there. That just didn't really work for me. And again, I'm not really going to blame Neil Patrick Harris because this was live, and this was the first episode. So I think this is something that has potential, but it needs to be unscripted. I think unscripted, it's a lot funnier, and scripted, it just doesn't really work for me. I didn't really like that skit very much. But I thought it was a cool idea, but it just didn't work as well as I think it could have. The next skit was called it was called I think it was called I use something. It was a karaoke thing where he had three random strangers. This I thought was a really fun skit. I definitely really enjoyed this. He basically had three random strangers each singing a song. He had them all sing a song. They had to finish the lyric. Gloria Gaynor came out, and there was all this production, everything. That was really cool. And the thing that was the most funny about this was because these are three people who didn't know they were going to be on, who were completely just, some of them were like sitting on a TV. They weren't even like prepared for this. And I think that is really cool. Seeing Neil Patrick Harris mess with these people is really funny. And I think it's a lot of fun to watch. That's something I thought was very well done. The best one for me was by far The Voice. I thought the thing he did with The Voice was really, really clever. I really love that. Him basically pretending to be the Austrian host of The Voice in Australia. That I thought was really funny. But what made it even funnier is the fact that he actually went to The Voice, like the actual show, and auditioned as this guy, and that I thought was great. That I thought was very funny, and just knowing that this wasn't scripted, that this was something that he actually did, he actually went to the show with a real audience, is really, really funny, and just seeing their reactions is great, and when he told them he was Neil Patrick Harris was very funny, and especially Blake Shelton and Adam Levine, they were both very funny. I'm not a huge fan of The Voice, but I thought was very funny, and I think, honestly, that was probably the skit that worked the best, because it was completely unscripted, and they had no idea, and it really just went with their reactions, which I thought was very funny, and I definitely really enjoyed that. Stuff like that, I think, is really great. The thing that seems to work really well on the show is Neil Patrick Harris simply fucking with people. Him making them feel uncomfortable is very, very funny, but the show just seemed very unfocused. My other problem with the show is there was way too much celebrity cameos and way too much focus on, oh, let's get this person in here. The co-host, Nicole Scherzinger, I have never been a fan of her, and I'm not a fan of her now. I think that she wasn't really good at all. I didn't really like her. I don't understand why he needs a co-host. It's called Best Time Ever with Neil Patrick Harris, not Best Time Ever with Neil Patrick Harris and Nicole Scherzinger. She seemed completely out of place. She seemed very wooden, and I really hope they get rid of her because I am not a fan of her. And I know that this is only the first season, but if this show does get picked up, I really want them to get rid of her. I don't think she's very good, and she was one of the things that you already have a guest announcer. You don't need Nicole Scherzinger in there. If anything, get a guest host. That's what they should have done. Get Reese Witherspoon to be the co-host. That would have been really cool. But knowing that she's going to be there every single week, I'm really not looking forward to, because I don't really find her that good of a host. She's not bad. She's just very, very wooden, and I really don't think she's good. She's a good singer, but I didn't really think she was that good. Neil versus, I think, is a very cool segment, because this is the one segment where Neil doesn't know what's going to happen. It could be anything that happens, and in this, it was him and Reese Witherspoon. Basically, I think it was, they were hand gliding, which I think was really interesting. Zip lining, that's what they were doing. They were zip lining, and it was like outside. It was very thrilling. That was very interesting. But my biggest thing again is that I just didn't really care much about it, because it wasn't funny, and it's not really something that I wanted to see. I think Neil versus is a very funny segment, but you got to do something funny. Don't do something like ziplining. That's not funny, and that's not Neil's fault. That's production's fault, because Neil didn't know what was going to happen here. You know, he didn't know what was going to happen with that, so I'm not going to blame him. It's mainly the production fault. Production needs to realize that that wasn't funny. That was thrilling, but it wasn't very funny. I want to laugh. I don't want to be, you know, kind of bored, and that segment very much bored me, because I don't come here to watch someone zipline. I come here to watch something really fun. And I have to say, what really encompassed all that was the final show. That I think is really cool. Having the final skit actually be a show, and doing a show out of it, getting kind of like a curtain call, doing one last number, I think was really cool. Seeing him on that pogo stick, jumping high in the air. I mean, it seemed like in the beginning he was kind of, you know, he was confident, but it seemed like his confidence got the best of him. But then towards the end, he seemed to be really great. And also that game show that he did with that audience member, where he quizzed them and gave them a prize, that I thought was very well done as well. I definitely like that. But I thought for the most part, I really liked the final number. I thought that was definitely really cool. Carrot Top cameo, not really that big of a fan of, but I thought overall it was really cool the way that ended. So overall, guys, I really did enjoy this. I think this has a lot of potential. It's not the best that it's been, but I'm not really going to say, oh, this was horrible, because it was only the first episode. It was live. It was the first time they've ever done something like this. It's not very different, I will definitely say that. There's nothing really about it that makes it different, and I really feel a lot more needs to be unscripted, because that's what I thought was really funny, was the unscripted stuff. Was the stuff that Neil just did to fuck with people. That I thought was very funny. When he's scripted, it's just not that funny. It's really not. The stuff with Reese Witherspoon, I didn't find funny. I really didn't. Nicole Scherzinger, I'm really not a fan of. Neil versus needs to be a lot funnier, and it really wasn't that funny. There was a really funny, I will say, there was a really funny joke, where there was this kid that was reading Gone Girl, and Neil Patrick Harris is like, "Don't read that. This doesn't end well for either of us." It was very funny, and it was probably the funniest. It was probably the funniest joke of the night, honestly. I think the show has a lot of potential. I'm definitely interested in seeing where the show can go from here, and I think it has a lot more room to grow. I will definitely continue watching. I'm not going to review every episode, obviously, but I will review when the season's over, because I want to stick with the show. I want to see how it turns out, and I want Neil Patrick Harris to really have a hit here. I just feel that maybe he was a bit nervous. He wasn't really sure the show was going to work out, and it kind of showed. He wasn't as funny as he could have been, but I feel like next week, once they get into more of a routine, they need to kind of focus more on what's funny and what's not, and things like that. I think the show relied way too much on celebrity cameos, but other than that, I overall thought it was very fun. But let me know what you guys thought of this first episode overall. I personally really enjoyed this show. That's basically my review. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll see you guys in my next video, which will be for tonight's episode of Big Brother 17, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.